last time we had, I was on it, but,
The meeting got canceled, and
yeah, what was it?
Jamie Ruff.
Jimmy Ruff was chairman of it, as chairman of the, president of the council. Well, what are we gonna do?
I think we need
Or
to
you
pay
could-
them out.
You could just present it to the council Thursday, just to see
Right.
what how they're feeling about
Ask
it.
them if they'd be willing to have, what, is it one, would be what, 3 people or 4?
I meant about the retirement,
For
that
the
they're going to
retirement, right.
fund it.
But if we put the committee back together, how many would we need? 5?
There were 5 before. Commissioner, council, auditor, and 2 employees.
One inside courthouse, one outside courthouse.
But they were non-voting factors.
At one time, they were, you're right, but then we changed it, I think Bill and I changed that, but we needed their input. So if they're gonna take the time to be on the advisory board, they should be able to vote, I believe, is how that was.
I think we need to go back to that, because we're getting to the point where we have to update our policies anyway. I wanna present it to the council about paying out the employees for their sick time and how they suggest we pay it out. If they leave in good terms. Cause I think it's an incentive for them to come to work. And how many hours are we gonna allow, that the, whatever our allowance is, or the percentage of how long they've been here.
Joe, you gonna come and present that then, is that what you're saying? Nick?
No, I won't be here. I have to work.
They said you present to.
Well, I said he to present. I mean, I can call a few of them.
When is that council meeting?
It's this
This
Thursday
Thursday.
at 10 o'clock.
The 18th
Yeah.
at 10 o'clock. Seems like there's something already on there, though. Oh, it was the highway, lady, on, paying $3.
Right.
Yes.
Are you gonna be here anyway?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So you wanna do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, we vote on it. They suggest we go to them.
I don't think we'll change policy we have right now with that.
Right. Well, we gotta have the money to approve it. If we can say it, then if they don't have it.
The kids can't throw it out and make it right.
And you can explain that before you continue anytime you want their approval.
I mean, the biggest thing is just to keep our employees.
Yeah.
As we get them trained, they leave.
No, if good employees don't work sick here. It's
Sure.
pretty damage for them.
What do we do now? Cause they don't have any sick time. Some of them.
Right, well, Demon did it for you, just, I'm gonna keep that built up, so.
Oh, well, that's true too. Okay, I believe I am finished.
Okay. Director Cassie Lane, E911, good morning. Waiting patiently back there in the corner.
Always. So last week I was notified by our town representative Shirley Larson that she is resigning from the 911 board. Her age is just not a fair component with COVID right now, so we're needing to replace that, and that member is decided by you guys. So I don't know how it goes from here, but
Has anybody suggested they would like to do it?
not yet. We've not announced it to the public yet. We had a meeting last Thursday, and it was announced at that meeting.
So we need to advertise it to somebody who would like to be on the 911 advisory.
Okay.
This is for, you say, a town representative?
It was town or incorporated, you remember how I said that was?
I think it's corporate.
Yeah.
So it is, so it can be somebody from the county,
Mhm.
you have to be Delphi, someone, or
Mhm. Yeah, like Shirley, she was from Yeoman, so,
Yeah.
Cameron's back there, got his mind circling.
so do I need to get with Miss Lowe to get that established,
I would
or?
appreciate it.
Okay.
I think it comes from our budget, so we pay for the advertisement.
No, we
Well,
don't have
maybe its own little story, you know?
If you had that retirement letter, you could give that to her, she could look that up.
Okay,
And don't call me Miss Lowe anymore.
sorry.
Anything else?
That's all.
Nobody knows who that is.
Nope, I had 6 interviews last week, and I have 2 on Wednesday, so I have 2 full-time slots just to fill. The hiring group that I did last October of 9, I have 1 that stayed. So, we're back at the board.
And I know I talked to you about an individual I worked with, a young gentleman. I wanna make sure it's okay, I give you your phone number for him to call you.
Yep.
He's going to get in the field, and I think he'll be a good
Yes.
candidate, maybe for him to even stay here if he lives that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? No? Alright, thank you.
While we are talking about appointments, we had several appointments, didn't we, to make yet this year?
We did that for the last week.
Yeah, I know you did some of them, did you do all of them?
We did all that have been presented to us.
Right.
The Northwest Solid Waste District, the Redevelopment Authority and Commission. You have a health board down here, which I was going to tell you that Joyce is researching, she might have somebody, but she wanted to tell you before the next meeting. So that, Christopher Heffer appointment can be tabled this time unless you have somebody. You've done Kirksey.
What about, economic development, or positions on economic development?
I don't know when, are they
There
yearly?
should be one every year that we appoint.
That's what I was saying.
I think yours is,
They have not.
Ooh, I think.
we'll have to ask
Not
them,
now.
we'll have to ask Jake.
I did ask you whether they would see that.
Well, he's just getting settled in, he's probably gotta figure it out himself.
I can look back, so you say the EDC,
EDC, right. They're appointed for, they're there for a 3-year term, and there's 3 of them, so one of them's up every year.
I asked Joe and they were two different who.
okay, any more? Anybody else? That you can think of? You need to get a list of all
Park
of them.
board positions like that,
Those are on until,
Next year.
park board, I think is on until they resign.
I still got Mr. Burton.
I did.
His is full.
And those parts, talked about the one for her. And, things are going pretty good for some, you guys use that. That's also.
Joyce also told me that the Board of Health, you do not have to do these every year now, so, that this is a vacancy.
Board of Health, we have to do every year now?
No, well, no, you don't.
Yeah.
They're on, and I was on that phone call at the same time we talked to the State Department, and they, said that once they're on, they're there till they
Decided to get on.
decide to get off, or you ask them to leave, or if that's it.
Okay, well, Ted can correct me on this, but I think that the situation on the appointing someone to the Board of Health is that has to come out of the health board.
Right.
If they bring somebody to us, and all we do is just approve it, isn't that right?
I think that's correct.
Did she,
When we've done it before, I think that's the way we do
okay,
it.
well, she has not done that yet.
Well, they're on the track.
They've got somebody on track.
And this must be an MD, this position.
It's, they make the suggestion that the Board of Commissioners just certifies that the Board of Health,
Well, you
made that.
certify it.
Yeah, all you do is certify it.
So we don't even say no if we don't like it, huh?
No, not anymore.
Okay. Okay. Well, then we're ready for County Attorney Ted Johnson.
I, changed the lease, I don't know if, Cecily had time to do it, to put the blanks in for the number of acres.
The one you sent me, and then.
The one I sent you didn't have, because I didn't know how many acres we owned, so this is just a, renewal of the extension that you made last year for 2025, or 2021. tenant is willing to continue to do it for the same price. So it's just extended for the 2021 year. It includes the 7 acres that was left plus the side of the jail. And if you approve that, then you can approve it, sign it today, and then the sign it.
So if we approve this land lease, then we decide to start the jail this year if it happens, how would that affect the lease?
We would have to compensate for the fraud.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's safe to really see it happen.
Yeah, I don't see that wouldn't happen. I mean, breaking ground.
We'll have to do surveys and stuff again.
He has scored against surgery.
Okay. So we're good with all that,
Pardon me?
we're good with that then on the surveying and stuff, all that,
It's already been done, yeah.
And then you don't have on the right away.
the easement.
Easement, yeah. I didn't get that on the agenda, but, the money that was set aside for that easement, you know, it's a new budget year.
Is
so
this
we
one
have to-
nothing?
We need to ask the council to okay that, the owner has, the owners are out in Kansas, and they're elderly, and they don't want, they really would rather not have an easement on their property, utility, but their attorney, Barry Emerson, you know, he's communicated with them. And they wanted the manholes buried, and, the engineer says, no way, and they independently got an engineer and said the same thing. They cannot be, should not be, for a jail, lowered, so they're willing to live with that, but they haven't okayed the price yet, and we increased the amount. So they haven't accepted that offer yet, so we don't have a deal yet, so the next step is, pardon me?
Is there a time limit on that offer?
Yes, we're not bound to them on it, but they haven't responded, you know, we don't wanna raise our own offer, you know, so they
No,
have.
but was there a time limit to acknowledge it or accept it or?
Yeah, it's really off the table right now,
Okay.
so, but we need to ask the council to earmark that money. They wouldn't necessarily have to appropriate as long as they give us their okay that they're gonna approve the funds to.
Well, that's part of the soft cost, right?
How much was that?
33,000, I thought.
I'm pretty fast at that.
23,000?
Well,
It's
see,
23,000,
the
I
original
think it was
offer
in
was based upon the appraisal that was done for us by the Fairman Sniper. And, they came back at the value of what the property is. I think it's 13,000 an acre, was it? Does that sound right?
Yeah.
So, and that number, I don't know what that computed to.
I think your last offer is right around 33.5.
I think you're right. Close to that. So, my suggestion is that we really ask the council to, earmark, you know, $35,000 or $40,000, something for this easement acquisition. That doesn't mean you pay that, but at least you have the money so we can try to get this wrapped
Well,
up.
before we forget about this, I want to make a motion to do the land lease, to continue the land lease.
I'll second that.
Okay, so I have a motion, and a second on the, extension of the farm lease agreement. All in favor, please say aye.
What's our alternative if they don't go with us?
We have to go through condemnation.
Just take it?
Pardon?
What's that mean?
We have to file a lawsuit, and 3 court-appointed appraisers determine how much we pay. And, if either side objects to the amount that the court-appointed appraisers, set it at, then we could go to a jury trial.
You could go to what?
A jury trial.
Okay.
So, I don't think they wanna get involved with that, we don't wanna get involved with that. I mean, the court-appointed appraiser fees now, they usually allow, and the condemning authority, which would be the county, pays those. A lot of times those are $1,500 a piece, so that's adding another $4,500.
I think this is something we need to get EDC involved in, because that's part of their area. Cause that could be developed later on into housing or something with that are going through there. The other option, I think, is to go north of the jail, so south of the jail, just cut right across the county through our rest of our property.
We have to engage the engineers to redesign it, that's gonna be more expensive than my,
Well,
you know,
I'm still talking about the
easement,
easement.
utility easement.
If we do what we talked about, then that allows for hookups on the south side.
Right.
Yes.
So, we won't have to street anymore. So it'd allow for that, so I hate to see that.
Well, it wouldn't be necessarily just the EDC that should be involved in it, it should be the redevelopment people out there. Should put up a nickel for it, I think, they're sitting on quite a bit of money, and I don't see why they shouldn't be helping to pay for that, because, like you say, that helps develop the south side. That south side's not gonna sit there as it is now forever.
My suggestion would be the board, if you wanna make a motion to that effect, that we formally request them to pay half of it, or all of the easement, or half of it, probably, maybe split it, what the cost of the easement.
I'll make that motion.
For half,
Yeah.
That is the redevelopment, you're talking about now?
Cause it's gonna benefit them more than it's gonna be us.
It'll help us with the project.
Equally anyway, probably more, yeah.
well then why don't you wanna make a look at it?
Cause it's our jail going out there.
But in a way, not just in a way, in reality, the money they're gonna be spending is the county's tax money, because it would have come into the county and its towns and all that, were it not for it's being held by the TIF district. So, I think that there's a bunch of that money that might go right into the jail budget.
So are you requesting that they do the land, and also the utilities,
That you get utilities put in,
that you request? What's that you're talking about?
but I can rescind my motion.
Well,
It's still taxing me, I can,
Doesn't mean if you don't ask, you don't get.
Right.
well, we can, all you do is ask, if they say no, then we can offer them something else.
And this is a place where we need to exercise our authority on appointments to make sure we get a cooperative board there to work with us on. And I'm not saying they're not cooperating, I'm just saying that we need to make sure that we're a cohesive unit here working towards that jail. I asked Mr. Clue about it, but then, he got something else he wants to spend the money on, well,
And it was for the housing.
that could be. So anyway, I'm throwing out that I would, if it were up to me, I'd say let's ask them to pay the whole thing.
I'll rescind my motion and make that motion if they pay for the easement.
The utility
And
easement, right?
utility.
Utility easement, what is it?
Utility easement and utility.
Do we have a cost estimate on the utility, then, do we have a cost estimate on the utility, utilities?
The actual utility extension, I don't know, I don't know.
The utility easement, I brought this up, cause that's what I was thinking was when you said 20, it's 23.3. And that's in
That's what I
last year's
thought.
budget, I think it rolls over to 2021 as a.
But that is already held back by the council, you say, or?
In the jail project soft cost, there's a utility easement line of 23,300.
That's why I said it's 28. I said for the other thing, it was like 29,000.
Well, I don't know if that's the earlier figure, I think that's the earlier figure, that was based on the appraisal. And they came back and said, you know,
Which
you've admitted that this is the fair market value of it, and,
This does say,
I don't think we went back to the council and asked for that additional.
I don't think we've gone to that other, have we?
No.
This is-
Okay, did you make a motion, Steve?
Yes.
And it was,
To, pay for the easement and utilities.
okay, Lauren, are you wanting to second this?
To give them opportunity to be part of the project.
Yeah,
Your fault, give me a motion.
okay, so I have a motion and a second to request of the redevelopment authority to, pay the cost of the easement and utilities going out there. Is that right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Now, what else do we have?
We need to go to the council to get the extra money. Well, never mind, that, we get them, never mind.
Well, their next meeting is March the eighth, the redevelopment, so somebody will have to check in on that.
Theirs is in the evening, I think.
No, they're at 1:00.
Everybody got a meeting. Hard for them.
Okay, Ted, do you have anything else to bring up to us?
The next one we've already talked about, but the highway department manager, I think somebody's gonna go to the council meeting.
I'm going to council
Okay,
meeting.
so, they're gonna need a job description, I'm thinking that they indicated when they had their meeting, the council, that we don't really have anything to base on an increase.
I think what
Thanks, Doug.
they wanted was what you wanted to add to it, and we
Right.
do have that now, so.
We have that now, but it's not been put in the form of, and I suppose you can wait until they see what they wanna do before you go to that expense of having.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, so no, don't need to do anything additional to that,
Today,
no.
okay. Then we're down here where it says Carroll County Board of Health, fill vacancy, we discussed that. Any other business, anything needs to come before the commissioners?
Highway superintendent.
Are we doing the ordinance for the split, or?
It is not needed.
Not needed.
Yes.
Okay, I seen it, I didn't know if I missed something, or, okay.
That's what he told me.
Highway engineer superintendent.
I'd like to make an offer to the first gentleman that we interviewed. I
Okay,
seen that he inquired again on it, email, I don't know if you've seen that or not, I don't know if we made our decision.
well, you know, I said after our interview with him, and I was remiss in not telling both of them that we will make our decision on Monday. We kinda left them hanging.
Right. We only had the one option, that was a PE professional. Even though the second one was just as qualified, but we won't get our money from the state.
That's there are $40,000.
I would like to make the offer to the first gentleman that we interviewed.
I think
You
you put
second
his
it?
name in that, put his name in that motion.
Kent Schumacher. Kent Schumacher.
I talked to him. Involved.
Yeah, I would want
some.
some.
So,
Yeah,
okay, he's ready.
so that'd be my motion, offer the job to Kent Schumacher, I don't know if I can say it. And have him start on.
He says he wants to move in.
He's getting ready. Yeah, he's got a hand school, I think.
Okay. All right, so I got a motion and a second that we offer the job to a gentleman named Mr. Kent Schumacher. Or was it Kurt?
Yes, yes.
Kent? Kent Schumacher, okay. All in favor of that, please say aye. Okay, I will contact.
Keep one of those conditional letters.
What did you just say?
A conditional, one of those letters that says conditional offer of employment,
Yeah,
like you did for the previous applicant.
so will you email that to him, or?
Yes, but I think I'll probably call him first to make sure he,
Still interested?
yeah. When, so, and he said he'd give 2 weeks, so, so according to,
He'll
do
probably
you
start.
want him to be at the next meeting at March 1st, or?
If he's available,
if he's
and
available,
Yeah.
to see if he's gonna set the,
March 15th.
March first.
If he can,
Yeah.
he's got that 2-week commitment. Well, we have a little thing here, a courthouse usage application from American Legion Post to observe Vietnam Veterans Day. Asking if the courthouse be kept open during this time in case of inclement weather. May be necessary to have a ceremony inside. Got the policy on here.
motion to open the courthouse. I'm motion to approve.
March 29th, 5 to 6.
Motion?
You're seconding?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Anything else?
Sheriff, that's one.
Sheriff, yeah.
I got it. That contract?
Yeah,
Yep, I got it.
you got it, okay. First of all, I commend you gentlemen for your discussions a short time ago in regards to the jail easement. As you may or may not have heard, I'm gonna be up here on a monthly basis, raising my hand, wanting to know where we are. I think that we obviously, and I know you recognize that we need to be proactive with this project. So, again, I commend you for your discussions just a short while ago and at least keeping the easement aspect of it moving forward and being proactive, so. Main reason I wanted to step up, and you may have already addressed it, so tell me to stop if you have, but Chairman Brown and I had discussion late last week in regards to courthouse security and an issue regarding, actually, put it simply, I was approached by a couple of different courthouse employees with concerns that, panic buttons are activated within the building. First responder or law enforcement in more particular cannot get into the building as it currently sets. So obviously.
We opened the courthouse.
You have opened it.
We have opened the courthouse.
All right, very good. That takes
I
care
told him
of
of our conversation and
Yep.
said I don't know why I wasn't smart enough to figure that out ahead of time, but that was
I had concerns.
Right.
certainly a valid point that we need to have it open.
Very good. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you, gentlemen.
While you're there, that Garmon gentleman that was here and talked, he called me again this week. And, he would like to know where we're standing. I said, well, I liked his presentation personally. He said he's talked to most of the council and most of the council's on board with him. So I think we need to have a joint meeting with them and us and Garmon and Elevatus to see where we're all at, so we can move forward.
What do you think, you want to?
Cause the council wants that word guaranteed, and Garmon, Paul said he would give them that word guaranteed.
Well, everything is given that figure. So you're making the selection for construction engineer, that's what you're verifying?
Well, at least having them talk to us again with the council, see what's that, if that's what they want, because we're not gonna go anywhere with any other person, but
We got before we got the recommendation of the committee,
right,
that's when I came on board.
right,
And we
and,
went with that.
right.
Okay, then there's been a solution, and we got criticism for that. So are we sure we don't wanna make a selection process this time? Or we're letting the council decide it for us?
If we wanna go anywhere, we're gonna let the council decide, because they already said they would hire this guy. I hate to say that, but they got the money.
We signed a contract.
I know we signed contracts, but they approved it. We signed a contract with Jack, and I would love to have Jack build our jail. That's who our committee wanted.
Well, you expressed this here, and the sheriff has called me and we've talked about it and all that. I am going to have a very difficult time signing on this proposed company. Because I am fearful of
has a process, but he's not, I would believe he didn't come back.
There's too much chance for, shady operations. If we do not go, like Lauren said, with the whole,
Start off with the proper.
start the whole process over again. There is a reason that there are certain people on the council that have always insisted on this one company. And we had a meeting in here, I sat here and I listened to them, I thought, this is gonna cost us more, it's not gonna guarantee anything, because they don't guarantee a price until they get all the bids in, so that's what guaranteeing it.
Nobody can guarantee anything that you do.
Right, and I went through all the things in my mind, I thought, why would we be arguing over this? And the only thing I can figure out is, there's collusion here, and I don't want it.
When did the council decide that, or did you talk to them?
Talking to this Paul,
Okay.
he called
They
me last
haven't
week.
talked about it on meetings, so maybe they will Thursday, I don't know.
Well, been looking to try to find a new contractor. As long as we wait, every other meeting we put it off, it just keeps putting us down the road.
I understand.
And it's more and more money, we've got $455,000 invested already.
But when you talk about the project, we gotta compare apples to apples too. It's quite a picture, because we're changing, we're gonna make some changes.
My thing is just don't finish one room and it can be done. Let's not finish the room, put the wall up. And you can use it for storage or whatever you need to do until we can add the extra cells in there. We can do that at a later date, we can drop her down to 80
I
beds.
understand that thought, but, the end, basically, it was the same thing, minus that part. So, you know, say, $3 million doing that?
Well, actually, probably not. They probably go cost the same because the less beds you build, the more it costs.
You go back in 10 years, 5 years, and do that, extra work, what's that gonna cost?
We could probably build the same, with the same amount we had bid, we could probably get a 200 bed jail because it's gonna cost less per bed.
I don't know if we get that much more, but I get your point, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm open to hear what, and Ted, you advise us through this whole thing here, what would you advise us to do at this point? Do we start all over on trying to select? At this point, we don't even have an idea of, there were a couple different ways of having it managed, and that's going out the window too. I mean, we hired a professional jail building manager to watch the whole thing for us. That's gone. Do we wanna go back and try to find another one of those, or do we wanna go with a construction company that says they're gonna manage it for us? Isn't that the question?
That's part of the question. You have entertained, companies before, and because it's a service contract, it's not a public works contract. You do not have to go through that process again, but legally, but you may want to. I mean, I don't have an answer for you, what you should do. I think I think you can go either way.
Well, it's like Lauren said, we did what you said right there. We did not go through the whole process because it wasn't legally required. And then we got some criticism pretty heavily, but well, why didn't you take bids from everybody on this? Well, we selected what we thought was the best from what we have. I don't care if you're gonna go back all the way, or we're gonna just try to pick the best. I don't care. What do you wanna do, Lauren?
Well, it's kind of particular of the facility we built.
Yeah?
At what point, so we got money wrapped up in now, got design work done, say it can't be redesigned, redesigned somewhat, altered, which will look in that extra cost. I don't know how long it would take to submit for interest in management. And that makes how long it would take, how long it should allow to make that decision.
We're still in contract with Elevadis, right?
Yes. And I don't see any reason to change that.
It would have to be amended, I think.
So we'd ask them if they would be willing to amend their contract, maybe they're even tired of dealing with it.
No, I talked to Greg, and he said, in my office. Yeah, I want to get a facility built too, but, you know, I'm kind of looking for a vehicle too, to trailer, family vehicle. I just don't, I'm not gonna go out and buy the first thing. I look at,
Better what?
go out and buy the first vehicles that I look at. And we can sell the pumps. It'll take a while. Takes a while to make my decisions sometimes. Have to give it some thought. But I think what we went through before, was not opening it up and getting interest in it, maybe Garmon will be selected. But we took a recommendation before, and look what happened. We take a recommendation from these people here, what can happen? Who's to blame? We're the ones signing the contract.
So we need to advertise for building construction manager, or?
If we're gonna make a mistake, I'd rather we make a mistake, because we signed the contract. So they're telling us to sign the contract. To me, that's holding us hostage. I don't like it. And we might go with Garmon.
I remember Elevadis telling me you wouldn't have to have construction management. You don't have to have it. But they do that.
They do that, Elevadis does?
So you give them opportunity to do a presentation also, to offer that to us.
They said, you know, it could be done without a construction manager. So
I mean, one of us has gotta be out there 24/7 looking at the plans.
Well, no,
you have selected an architect, and, I think there's not been any complaint about that. I think what happened was, things got ahead of where they should have, you know, before we, but I think that I would consult with Elevadis for options on how to go forward from this point. Because you trust them, and nobody seems to have any objection to having Elevadis to be the architect. So I would consult with them, either privately, individual commissioners, or have Greg or somebody come up.
the only thing I would say that, Ted, is we haven't had any objection lately. Originally, there was a lot of objections.
Yeah.
Elevadis. But once we started to move through it, it died out. But it was from the same sources that objected to our selection of Jack, the manager. Well, we need to get out of here because we're encroaching upon the other time.
So would you make contact with them
I can,
and see if they can come in the next meeting or two and present?
or Bill can, you know, I don't necessarily wanna be in the middle of it, but, I'll do that if that's what the board wants.
Get each contact.
Okay.
I said we could each contact Greg and have a discussion.
I think that would be better.
Individually.
Okay? We can do that. Anything else coming for the commissioners?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion and second to adjourn, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned, thank you.
All right, next up will be our drainage board meeting.
Just a minute, let me finish this.
Okay.
Okay.
And we'll have answers to the questions by the end of the day, because I've got a doctor's appointment in the morning.
Get the line.
Okay, or you could do half and half or whatever. Whatever you wanna do. I got them to you late, and they are, you know,
I went through all of them
Yeah.
over the whole weekend. Also, when you get them, I numbered them, and it was a lot easier for me.
you know, I wanted to do that, but I was running out of time and my head was hurting. Yes.
So,
No, that's
and-
good.
and
That's
part-
fine.
Part of the reason is I reference, because
Yes.
you're right, I can go back and say, see question.
Yep, that's good.
9,
I'm glad you
whatever.
did that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did
So,
that.
And I came up with 46 in that group. So, and you said you have more. Okay,
For next week.
that's fine. That's fine. I mean, so far it's, you know, and there's one or two, I can't remember specifically, there's one or two basically I didn't answer.
But you said why?
I can't remember off the top of my
Okay.
But, yeah, I mean, part of it, and I can remember at least one of them, it kind of, in my opinion, it touched on evidentiary aspect, and I didn't want to go down that road.
And so if you would just say that,
Yeah.
so I don't have to try to work my way through saying it.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, and I should have written this to you, and it'll be in the article. There were many who thanked you for being available to answer these questions, and I should have conveyed that to you. I mean, many. There were many, and so they're appreciative. I mean, the people who sent questions, most of them are appreciative that you'll even answer, you know. And so I am too, because you know I didn't know what to write now. And I knew people had questions, and I, you know, finally figured something.
And obviously, I could definitely pick up on some of those that once they got latched onto and posted on Facebook, I could pick up on that. I'll say cynical or negative social media connotation. I could pick up on that. And I'll be honest with you, a couple of those are the ones that I, you know, respectfully know I'm not gonna answer this, blah, blah, blah.
If you want to mention social media, go ahead. And you know, you got next week to, you know, too, because it's part of it. It's part of it. And some of those questions came from all over. I mean, Tennessee, Tallahassee, I think the UK. Yeah.
And see, and again, no disrespect to anybody, but what do you know about our area? And maybe that's too subjective. That's part of my opinion. But anyway, I just want to let you know, my plan is by the end of today to get you.
Okay. What is that outfit you're wearing?
This is very old. Bill Coghill got this for me back in the day. Everybody. This was our call-out gear for this time of year. Or,
Weather?
Today, we're 15 minutes behind.
Okay, thank you.
You gentlemen had a chance to look at the minutes from the previous meeting?
Approve the minutes from January 19th.
Okay, got a motion, do I have a second? All in favor? Motion passes. All right, Mr. Shockley, take on the old business.
Okay, old business, George Hunt, from the Village of Bear Creek, just looking to, we did kind of get with Michael, and got everything updated for watersheds, and then Beth, worked diligently last week, and we got out like 240 letters we had to have sent out by Friday, so, we did get those, mailed out. We're having a meeting